Welcome to episode 213 of the Lone Hockey Podcast, where today we're going to be talking about some standouts in last night's matchup between Colorado and Calgary. And obviously, really intriguing matchup. You get Cale Makar playing in his hometown, and I felt like it was just a really great game for him playing in his hometown. And then at the same time, Martin H.S. was really good. Nathan McKinnon was really good. Like, Martin H.S. ever since joining Colorado just a few weeks ago now, has been so good for them. He's been so reliable. He's been so consistent, and he's just contributed in many different ways offensively. I feel like that's allowed him to be able to be a consistent scoring winger for Nathan McKinnon. And obviously, Nathan McKinnon, there's not many players who can process the game like Nathan McKinnon can. And Martin Necas is one of those few players in the league, one of those rare players in the league who actually matches that processing speed. He's not the same level of talent that McKinnon is, but in terms of his processing speed and how rapid and quick his hockey sense is at being able to time situations, reads with the puck, and being able to anticipate situations, he really relates to McKinnon very effectively. He's one of the better wingers in the league at being able to relate to higher skilled and quicker moving centers. And so with Colorado, they obviously had a lot of other good players who stood out throughout this game. Like Nathan McKinnon had 3 points and was just making plays. He was really noticeable in the ozone, controlling the flank really well on the power play. He was just always really noticeable there. Cale Makar had 2 points in his hometown, so he had the goal and then he had the assist as well. His goal is really nice because he was able to incorporate that weak side D activation and be able to have that and execute on that. And at the same time, he's just really good in terms of his movement, coming downhill catches in the ozone with the puck and being able to maintain possession in an easy way and maintain possession with his head up. That's one of the things I think he's best at doing is when he retrieves pucks and retrieves passes from teammates, he's able to retrieve them with his head up. And some players they aren't able to do that as easily, but Makar is one of the best in the league when being able to do that and execute on it. So he was really noticeable. And then Arturi Lehkonen, who I thought was great last night as well. I noticed him a lot in terms of his checking ability, how he's finishing checks, how he's angling guys off, how he's getting on the backside of guys and really forcing them to be uncomfortable in contact situations. And he was just doing a really good job of pressuring in a purposeful way that allowed him to be able to create turnovers. So he was doing a really good job of that. And in terms of offensive ability, his movement was really noticeable. He was really in control on the power play, creating volume on his shots. I thought he was really good with his playmaking touch as well, being able to make nice one-touch decisions, one-touch passing, and just being able to move off the puck fluidly, quickly, rapidly. He's a guy who fits their top nine so well, and a guy who's so reliable inside that role because he can play a checking game, but also a really skilled game. So you're getting the best of both worlds out of him, and he's a guy who can be very steady offensively when need be as well. I feel like that's a really big testament to what he's able to do, not only in the ozone, but just how he's able to make plays and how he's able to sustain that over time as well. And then Devontae's the other guy who is really noticeable, obviously McCarr's D pair and D partner, I mean, and Devontae's what he's really good at is making those subtle, less flashy plays that Makar does and doing it defensively, doing it in transition, making the right reads in a timely way. He can recover from Makar. Makar is a guy who likes to push the pace and push up ice really quickly and aggressively. And Devontae's is kind of a counteracting element to that, where you need a little bit of a balance of both in both worlds per se. Having that offensive, aggressive style defenseman like Makar is really good, and then having that laid back, more not reactive, but more likely to anticipate situations and better with his feet and just more in control of the situation defensively. And Devontae's, and they're both turning into really elite defenders defensively. I feel like Makar, as he's gotten older in the league, he's actually become better defensively. And I feel like in large part, it has to do with a lot of his skating, his timing, how he pivots, and stuff like that. But at the same time, I just feel like his reads defensively have gotten better, and part of that probably is playing with Devontae's, and Devontae's is one of the most elite 5-on-5 defenders in the league. When you look at entry denials, when you look at in-zone defense, when you look at rush defense, when you look at how he's defending on an even strength, and you can even look at his PK defense as well. A guy who plays all situations for the Avs, and you're going to rely upon him more as your number one on the PK. So having that balance with Makar is really important. He was just really good yesterday in terms of timely reads. Again, not the flashy play, and he's not the flashiest defenseman, but he does the subtle things and the quiet details that often go very, very unnoticed. And he does them well, and he does them consistently. That's what makes him so underrated. That's what makes him, in my mind, exciting to watch. May not be the most exciting to watch from a fan perspective because you're thinking pure offense and you're thinking Cale Makar pushing the pace all the time. But with Devon Taves, he's just that really nice counteracting element to Makar in that sense. And then on Calgary's side, I thought Rasmus Anderson was really noticeable. He was quarterback in the second unit on the power play. He had some really nice power play breakouts, some good power play breakout drops as well. And I thought he was moving really well on the power play and at 5-on-5. He had a bit more flair to his feet. He was playing on his toes. He was playing with speed in transition. And he was aggressively and assertively attacking defenders and attacking guys one-on-one, which is something that sometimes I see him shy away from a little bit more, especially when it comes to the neutral zone. But he's an intriguing defenseman because you can get a defenseman at some point who can eclipse, I would say, around 60 points if he's with the right D partner. And some of it has to do with him playing in Calgary. He's playing with a lot of different partners, both at 5-on-5 and other situations. And power play time isn't consistently there because you have Tyson Barrie sort of intermanning that unit, and he's obviously very familiar with Brian Huska there too. And there's just some other things, some other variables that go into that. But Rasmus Anderson, he's fun to watch in my eyes, just from the raw eye test perspective. Analytics wise, some of it could back it up, but not quite as much. But when you look at Anderson's game in depth, you just really see the skating, the mobility. I really think if he was on a really good team with a really good D partner and playing consistent top power play in the right situation, this could be a defenseman that could blossom and have a breakout year. I remember one year, Eric Gustafsson was a guy who was a Swedish left shot D, and I don't remember where he's playing right now off the top of my head, but he had 60 points that one year in Chicago because he was playing PP1. He was playing top 4 minutes regularly. He was playing a massive offensive role that year. And he is surrounded by not only great D partner, but great players in general on the power play and offensively. So it allowed him, and he was in an environment where he could thrive. And the Hawks were doing okay at that time too. So when it comes to Anderson and when you're looking at his game more in depth, I see a guy who could eclipse 60 plus points. I don't necessarily I see him being more of a guy who scores around 15 goals and hits 45 assists, 50 assists, something like that. Because I don't see Anderson as a guy who can really score a ton. Yes, he's scored before and he can provide that, but I just see him more as a passer, playmaker, a guy who can generate a ton of assists. So I'd be curious to see what they do with him long term. I know he's been involved in a lot of rumors thus far, and I don't know if they're going to keep him. I don't know if they're not. He's right around 30, and I just think there's some intriguing elements in his game that can translate if he's in the right environment on a different team. And I don't necessarily think it's truly working out in Calgary. I don't feel like he's truly living up to his full potential in Calgary. I feel like I said, if he's in a better situation and could get moved to a better situation, he should take advantage of that. Anyway, so Matt Coronado, another player, was really good. I thought all their guys, like Mackenzie Weegar was noticeable, Nazem Kadri, a lot of their veterans were noticeable, and Michael Backlund, Blake Coleman, those guys were all really noticeable as well. I noticed Jake Bean a little bit in terms of puck movement, how he's able to move pucks up ice, how he's able to move the puck in transition, be active offensively, be engaged in the O zone. He's noticeable that Coronado is just a guy who I've noticed game in, game out now, and I really like his game. Again, I see him as more of a top nine winger longer term more than anything else. So I definitely think there are some intriguing qualities in him that could allow him to become a top six scorer, a proven top six scorer, and maybe even a 30 goal scorer at some point. And certainly has the dynamics and the makeup of becoming a 30 goal scorer at some point. It's just more a matter of when and how. But Coronado is really intriguing throughout this game and just did a really good job of being able to create offense and being able to create in a lot of different situations for Calgary as well.